You've been telling yourself it's over, haven't you? That maybe this time the silence means something different. That maybe the distance is permanent. That maybe you read it all wrong from the beginning. But here's what you can't escape. Your body won't let you forget. Your heart keeps pulling you back to moments that should have faded by now. Your soul recognizes something your mind keeps trying to dismiss. You know this feeling. You've tried to logic your way out of it. You've tried to move on. You've tried to convince yourself it was just intense chemistry or trauma bonding or wishful thinking. But something deeper keeps whispering the truth. This isn't ending. It's transforming. And right now, in this exact moment, whether you're in separation or standing at the edge of reunion, your soul is guiding you through a process that cannot be rushed, cannot be forced, and cannot be abandoned. Because twin flame reunion doesn't happen by accident. It happens by alignment. And if you're here, if you clicked on this video, if something inside you said yes to these words, then you're already walking the path. You're already in the process. And what I'm about to share with you are the exact steps that move you from separation to reunion. Not through manipulation, not through chasing, but through sacred transformation. If you felt this pull, this undeniable knowing that the story isn't finished, I want you to drop a comment below and simply type, "I trust the divine timing of my reunion." Claim that energy. Anchor it into your reality. And if these transmissions speak to your soul, subscribe so you never miss the guidance that's meant specifically for you. Because, beloved, you're not here by coincidence. Let's begin with what most people misunderstand about twin flame separation. They think it's a pause, a break, a temporary distance that will resolve itself once enough time passes or once someone changes their mind. But separation is not a pause in the journey. It is the journey. It is not the absence of connection. It is the deepening of it. Because here's the truth. You cannot reunite with your twin flame from the same level of consciousness that created the separation. The version of you that met them, the version that fell into intensity and chaos and overwhelming emotion, that version is not the one who will hold union. Union requires transformation, and transformation requires space. This is why separation feels so brutal, because it's not just losing someone you love. It's being forced to face every wound, every pattern, every unhealed part of yourself that the connection illuminated. Your twin flame is a mirror, and in separation, that mirror doesn't disappear. It turns inward. Everything you saw in them, everything you felt with them, every trigger and every ecstasy, it all becomes internal work now. This is the first step, accepting that separation is not punishment. It is preparation. Have you noticed how the pain of separation feels? Different than a normal breakup. How it's not just sadness or longing, but something that reaches into your soul. That's because this isn't an ending, it's an activation. The moment physical distance appears, the spiritual connection intensifies. You feel them more, not less. You sense their energy. You dream about them. You see signs and synchronicities everywhere. This is not your imagination. This is the bond doing what it was always meant to do, waking you up. For the divine feminine, and this is often, though not always, the woman in the connection, separation triggers a specific journey. At first, there's the chase, the desperate need to fix it, to explain, to make them understand what you feel. You reach out, you try to keep the connection alive through sheer force of will. You analyze every word, every silence, every sign. You wait for them to come back. You hold space for them. You convince yourself that your love is enough to heal whatever broke between you. But here's what the universe is trying to show you. Your love is enough, just not for him, for you. This is the moment when everything shifts, when you realize that holding space for someone who isn't ready is the same as abandoning yourself. When you understand that waiting is not the same as healing. When you finally see that reunion cannot happen while you are still making yourself small, still dimming your light, still sacrificing your truth to keep a connection alive that is meant to transform you, not diminish you. The feminine's journey through separation is a reclamation. You are not here to wait, you are here to become. And here's what happens when you stop chasing, when you pull your energy back, when you choose yourself with the same intensity you once chose him. The entire dynamic shifts, because the twin flame connection is not held together by pursuit. It's held together by frequency. And the moment you stop operating from lack, from fear, from the energy of not enough, you begin to emit a completely different signal. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to attract him back, but because you've remembered who you are. Let me be clear about what this looks like. It's not about playing games or using no contact as a strategy to make him miss you. It's not about pretending you don't care or building walls around your heart. It's about genuine transformation. It's about doing the deep inner work that separation is demanding of you. It's about healing your abandonment wounds, your worthiness wounds, your patterns of seeking validation outside yourself. It's about learning to hold your own energy without leaking it towards someone who isn't available. It's about becoming so full, so whole, so aligned with your truth that you no longer need reunion to feel complete. And this is the paradox. The moment you no longer need it, you become ready for it, because union cannot be built on neediness. It cannot be sustained by two people trying to fill each other's voids. It requires two whole people choosing each other from a place of overflow, not desperation. This is why separation is necessary. It forces you to find that wholeness alone. Now let's talk about what's happening on the other side. Because while you're doing this work, while you're healing and transforming and reclaiming yourself, something is happening to him. The divine masculine, and again, this is often though not always the man, experiences separation completely differently at first. When the connection ends or when he pulls away, there's often a sense of relief. Finally, he thinks, finally I can breathe. Finally, I can think clearly without all that intensity. He might convince himself he made the right choice. He might distract himself with work, with other people, with anything that keeps him from feeling what's actually happening inside him. But here's what he doesn't understand yet. He didn't leave the connection. He took it with him. The bond doesn't live in proximity. It lives in the soul. And no amount of distance, no amount of distraction, no amount of denial can erase what has been activated. At first, the distractions work. He feels fine. He feels free. He tells himself he's moving on. But slowly, something starts to shift. The thoughts come back. The memories surface at unexpected times. He dreams about you. He feels you. He can't explain it, but there's this presence that won't leave him alone. This is his awakening beginning, and it doesn't happen gently. The masculine awakens through pressure, through the slow, relentless build of everything he's been avoiding. His soul starts to speak louder than his mind. His heart starts to demand attention. The walls he built to protect himself begin to feel like a prison, and the more he runs, the more trapped he feels, because he's not running from you. He's running from himself, from the depth of feeling you awakened in him, from the vulnerability the connection demands, from the truth that he is not as in control as he thought. The masculine's journey through separation is an unraveling. Everything he thought he knew about himself, about love, about what he wants, it all gets called into question. He begins to see his patterns, his fear of intimacy, his tendency to shut down when things get too real, his wounds around worthiness and performance and having to be strong. The connection with you cracked him open, and now in separation, he has to face what's inside that crack, and it terrifies him. But here's what's happening beneath the fear: growth, transformation, a slow dismantling of the armor that has kept him safe but alone. He's learning, whether he realizes it or not, that running doesn't bring peace, that avoiding doesn't make the feelings go away, that the connection he thought he could leave behind is actually the most real thing he's ever felt. This realization doesn't come all at once. It builds layer by layer, moment by moment, until one day he can't deny it anymore. And here's the crucial part: his awakening is directly connected to yours. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you reclaim your energy, the moment you choose yourself, he feels it. The energetic dynamic shifts. The safety net of your pursuit disappears. And suddenly, he has to face the possibility that he might actually lose you. Not because you're threatening to leave or playing hard to get, but because you're genuinely moving forward in your life. You're healing, you're growing. You're no longer energetically available in the way you once were. And this terrifies him more than the intensity ever did. This is when the second step of reunion begins. The masculine starts to feel urgency. Time becomes real. The idea of later loses its comfort. He begins to understand that silence has consequences, that waiting has limits, that you are not going to stay frozen in place while he figures himself out. And this fear, this urgency, it's not weakness. It's awakening. It's his soul pushing him toward truth, toward vulnerability, toward the choice he's been avoiding. Have you felt this shift? Have you noticed the energy change even when there's been no contact? Maybe he reaches out suddenly after months of silence. Maybe you sense him thinking about you. Maybe synchronicities intensify. Maybe you just know something is moving beneath the surface. This is not coincidence. This is the process unfolding, because reunion doesn't begin with a text message or a phone call. It begins energetically. It begins when both souls reach a certain level of readiness. And that readiness is built through the inner work of separation. Now here's where most people get confused. They think reunion means going back to what was. They think it means picking up where you left off. They imagine the same intensity, the same passion, the same dynamic, just without the problems. But that's not how twin flame reunion works. Because if you reunite at the same level of consciousness, you will recreate the same patterns, the same triggers, the same chaos. Reunion is not about going backward. It's about meeting each other as completely new versions of yourselves. This is the third step, integration. This is when both of you have done enough inner work that the dynamic can actually shift. You're no longer the chaser. He's no longer the runner. You're no longer trying to fix him or save the connection. He's no longer running from vulnerability or shutting down when things get deep. You've both faced your shadows. You've both healed enough to show up differently. And this is when reunion becomes possible, not as a repeat of the past, but as something entirely new. Integration means you've learned to hold your own energy. You've learned that your worth is not dependent on his validation. You've learned to love without losing yourself. You've learned that you are whole on your own. And he's learned that vulnerability is not weakness. He's learned that feeling deeply is not dangerous. He's learned that running doesn't protect him, it isolates him. He's learned that the connection is not something to fear, but something to honor. When both of you reach this place, the energy between you changes completely. The push and pull stops. The anxiety dissolves. The fear of abandonment and the fear of engulfment, they both release. Because you're no longer operating from woundedness. You're operating from wholeness. And union between two whole people is not volatile. It's stable. It's safe. It's sustainable. This doesn't mean there won't be challenges. It doesn't mean everything will be perfect. But it means you'll have the tools, the awareness, the emotional maturity to navigate those challenges without destroying each other. So how do you know if you're ready for this level of reunion? How do you know if the work you've been doing is enough? Here are the signs. You no longer obsess over when or how he'll come back. You're not checking his social media or analyzing every possible sign. You're not waiting for him to validate the connection. You found peace in the uncertainty. You trust the process. You trust yourself. You've rebuilt your life in a way that feels full and meaningful with or without him. You've healed your relationship with yourself. You've learned to meet your own needs. You've stopped abandoning yourself for the possibility of love. And here's the most important sign. You've reached a place where you genuinely want him to be happy, even if that happiness doesn't include you. Not because you've given up, not because you don't care, but because you love him enough to release your grip on how the story has to unfold. This is surrender, not the kind of surrender that means giving up. The kind that means trusting something bigger than your fear. Trusting that if this union is meant to be, it will happen. And if it's not, you will be okay. More than okay. You will be whole. When you reach this place, something miraculous happens. The universe responds because you've finally aligned with the frequency of union. You're no longer vibrating at the frequency of lack or fear or desperation. You're vibrating at the frequency of wholeness, trust, and love. And that frequency is magnetic. It draws to you everything that matches it, including him if he's done his work, including reunion if the timing is right, including the next chapter of your journey, whatever that looks like. Now let's talk about what reunion actually looks like when it happens from this place. It doesn't usually happen dramatically. There's no movie moment where he shows up at your door with flowers and a speech. It's usually quieter than that, more organic. He might reach out with a simple message. He might ask to talk. He might show up in a way that feels different than before. less guarded, more honest, more present, and you'll feel the difference immediately. Because he's not reaching out from fear or loneliness or ego. He's reaching out from truth. This is the fourth step, reconnection, and it's delicate. Because even though you've both done work, even though you've both grown, there's still history. There are still wounds that might be tender. There's still trust that needs to be rebuilt. This is not the time to rush. This is not the time to fall back into old patterns just because the intensity is familiar. This is the time to move slowly, to communicate clearly, to honor your boundaries, to let the new dynamic establish itself without forcing it. Reconnection requires patience. It requires both of you to be willing to show up differently, to speak your truth even when it's uncomfortable, to listen without defensiveness, to take responsibility for your part in what happened before, to forgive without forgetting the lessons, to build something new on the foundation of everything you've learned. This phase is a testing ground. It reveals whether the inner work was real or just surface level. It shows whether you've both truly transformed or just paused the same patterns. And here's what you need to know. If he comes back but hasn't done his work, you'll feel it. The energy will feel off. He'll say the right words, but his actions won't match. He'll want the connection, but still resist the vulnerability. He'll be available, but only on his terms. And if this happens, you have a choice. You can fall back into the old dynamic, hoping your love will be enough to change him. Or you can hold your boundary. You can honor the work you've done. You can say, I love you, but I love myself more. And I will not abandon myself again, not even for this connection. This is the ultimate test of your transformation. Can you choose yourself even when he comes back? Can you hold your standard even when your heart wants to collapse into relief? Can you trust that real reunion will feel different, will be different, will honor the work you've both done? Because, beloved, you did not do all this healing to settle for crumbs. You did not reclaim your worth to give it away again. You did not learn to stand in your power to shrink back into old patterns. If he comes back and it doesn't feel right, that's information. That's the universe showing you that the timing isn't aligned yet, and you get to honor that. But if he comes back and he has done his work, you'll know. You'll feel it in your body. The anxiety won't be there. The fear won't be there. Instead, there will be peace. There will be safety. There will be a sense of rightness that doesn't need to be questioned or analyzed. He'll show up consistently. He'll communicate openly. He'll be willing to have the hard conversations. He'll take responsibility. He'll honor your boundaries. He'll prove, through his actions, not just his words, that he's ready. And when you feel that, when you know that, then you can choose to open your heart again, not from desperation, from discernment. This brings us to the fifth step, union. And I want to be very clear, very intentional, and very honest about what union truly means in the context of the twin flame journey. Because there are so many misconceptions, so many fantasies, so many false expectations wrapped around this word that can actually keep you stuck in illusion rather than grounded in truth. Union is not the fairy tale ending you've been imagining. It's not the moment when everything suddenly becomes easy and effortless. It's not happily ever after with no more challenges, no more triggers, no more difficult conversations, or uncomfortable growth edges. It's not the culmination of the journey, the final destination where you arrive and get to rest forever. No, beloved, union is actually the beginning of an entirely new phase, a new chapter, a new level of work that is deeper, more nuanced, and more demanding than anything that came before it. Union is when two people who have done their individual work, who have faced their shadows, who have healed their deepest wounds, who have learned to stand in their own power and their own wholeness, come together to do shared work. It's when the connection that once felt like it was tearing you apart, ripping you open, exposing every wound and insecurity, becomes the foundation for building something beautiful, something stable, something sacred. It's when the mirror that showed you all your wounds, all your unhealed trauma, all your patterns and defense mechanisms, becomes the reflection of your wholeness, your strength, your capacity to love without losing yourself. This is the alchemy of union. This is the transformation that makes all the pain worthwhile. Union at this level is sacred. It's holy. It's not casual, it's not convenient, and it's not based on need or fear or the desperate attempt to complete each other, to fill the emptiness inside, to escape the discomfort of being alone with yourself. It's based on choice, on conscious, deliberate, eyes wide open choice, on commitment that is renewed daily, not just spoken once in a moment of passion, on both people saying, with full awareness and full presence, I see you in your light and your shadow. I see myself reflected in you. I see us as a unit with a purpose greater than our individual desires, and I choose this. Every single day, every single moment, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, even when triggers come up and you want to run or shut down or defend yourself, even when old patterns try to resurface, when the familiar wounds try to reopen, when fear whispers that you're not safe, that you should protect yourself, that you should leave before you get hurt again. Union is the practice of staying present, staying open, staying committed to growth together. It's not perfect. It will never be perfect. But it's real, it's authentic, it's grounded. And it's worth every single moment of the separation that prepared you for it, every tear you cried, every night you spent alone wondering if this would ever make sense, every moment of doubt and despair that forced you to go deeper into yourself. Here's what changes in union, and this is important to understand because it helps you recognize when you're truly ready for this level of connection. The intensity is still there. That electric, undeniable, soul-level recognition is still present, but it's no longer chaotic. It's no longer spinning you out of control, making you feel like you're losing your mind, making you obsess and analyze and try to control every outcome. The passion is still there, that deep, magnetic, almost overwhelming attraction and connection is still alive, but it's no longer destructive. It's no longer burning you up, consuming you, causing you to abandon yourself or your boundaries or your truth. The depth is still there, that profound sense of seeing and being seen, of touching something ancient and eternal in each other, is still very much present, but it's no longer terrifying. It's no longer so overwhelming that you have to run from it, or numb yourself to it, or pretend it doesn't exist. Because you've both learned to hold it. You've both developed the capacity, the emotional maturity, the spiritual strength to be with the bigness of this connection without losing yourselves in it. You've both learned through your individual journeys through the separation, through the dark nights of the soul. That love is not about merging into one, dissolving your boundaries, losing your identity in another person. It's about two whole people, two sovereign beings, two complete souls choosing to walk together, supporting each other without carrying each other, challenging each other without breaking each other, growing together without stunting individual growth. This is the gift of the twin flame journey, not the destination, not the happy ending, the transformation, the becoming, the evolution into a version of yourself you couldn't have accessed any other way. And here's what I need you to understand. What I need you to really let sink into your heart and your cells and your consciousness. Whether your twin flame reunion happens in this lifetime or not, whether he comes back or not, whether he does his work or stays stuck in his patterns, whether union manifests physically in a tangible relationship or remains a spiritual catalyst that exists in the energetic realm. The journey was never actually about him. It was always about you. He was the mirror that showed you what needed healing, the catalyst that cracked you open so the light could get in, the invitation to go deeper into yourself than you ever thought possible. But you are the one doing the work. You are the one showing up every day to face what's uncomfortable. You are the one healing the wounds that have been buried for years or lifetimes. You are the one transforming your patterns, your beliefs, your entire way of being in the world. You are the one becoming the highest version of yourself. And that becoming, that evolution, that transformation, that is the real reunion. Not with him, with yourself, with your own soul, with your own truth, with your own divine essence. Because here's the deepest truth of the twin flame journey, the truth that often gets overlooked in all the focus on the external connection. You are your own twin flame. The union you're seeking externally, the completion you're looking for in another person, is actually a reflection of the union that needs to happen internally, within your own being, within your own soul. The divine masculine and divine feminine, these archetypal energies that you recognize in your twin flame connection, are not just out there in another person. They are inside you. They live within you. They are aspects of your own consciousness, your own energy, your own wholeness. And the journey, the real journey beneath the surface story of separation and reunion, is about integrating those energies within yourself, balancing your own masculine and feminine, healing the separation, the fragmentation, the disconnect inside your own soul, becoming whole on your own, not because someone else completed you, but because you did the work to integrate all the parts of yourself. And when you do that, when you truly reunite with yourself, when you marry your own inner masculine and feminine, everything changes. Everything shifts. Your entire experience of life and love transforms. You stop needing external validation to feel worthy. You stop seeking completion in another person to feel whole. You stop waiting for someone else to make you feel loved, seen, valued enough. Because you already are. Because you've cultivated that within yourself. Because you've become the source of your own love, your own validation, your own sense of completeness. And from that place of wholeness, from that grounded, centered, self-sourced place, if reunion happens, if physical union manifests with your twin flame, it's not because you needed it to feel complete. It's not because you were desperately trying to fill a void. It's because you chose it from a place of overflow, from a place of already being full, from a place of wanting to share your wholeness rather than looking for someone to fill your emptiness. And that makes all the difference. That shift in energy, that shift in motivation, that shift in consciousness, that's what transforms the twin flame connection from a painful, chaotic, all-consuming, obsessive experience into a sacred, supportive, empowering partnership. That's what makes it sustainable instead of explosive. That's what makes it real instead of fantasy. That's what allows it to actually work in the physical realm instead of just existing as an idealized concept. So beloved, if you're in separation right now, if you're in the thick of it, if you're wondering when he'll come back, if you're checking his social media, if you're analyzing every sign and synchronicity, if you're trying to figure out what step you're on or how much longer this will take, or what you still need to fix or heal or change about yourself before you're worthy of reunion, I want you to stop. I want you to breathe. I want you to place your hand on your heart and come back to center. I want you to trust the process, trust the timing, trust your own journey. I want you to know, deeply know, that you are exactly where you need to be. The journey is unfolding perfectly, even when it doesn't feel perfect, even when it feels messy and confusing and painful. Every moment of pain has purpose. Every moment of heartbreak is breaking you open to more love. Every moment of growth is preparing you for the next level. Every moment of waiting, every moment that feels like nothing is happening, is actually a moment of becoming, a moment of transformation happening beneath the surface. You are not stuck. You are not forgotten. You are not being punished for something you did wrong. You are being refined. You are being prepared. You are being sculpted into the version of yourself that can hold the love you desire. The steps I've shared with you, acceptance, awakening, integration, reconnection, union, they are not linear. They are not a checklist you complete and move past forever. You will move through them in your own time, at your own pace, in your own unique way. You will circle back to earlier steps even when you thought you were past them. You will have moments of absolute clarity where everything makes sense and moments of doubt where you question everything. You will have days where you feel completely healed, totally over it, ready for whatever comes next, and days where the wound feels fresh again, where the longing hits you out of nowhere, where you cry in the shower because you miss him so much. This is normal. This is the process. This is what healing actually looks like. Healing is not a straight line. Transformation is not a one-time event where you suddenly arrive at a new version of yourself and stay there forever. It's a journey. It's a spiral. It's layers upon layers of releasing and integrating and becoming. And you are walking it with courage, with grace, with a strength you don't even realize you have, with a resilience that is building with every step. And here's what I know to be true, what I've seen time and time again in my own journey and in the journeys of countless others. If this connection is meant to result in physical union, it will. Not because you manifested it perfectly, or did all the right things, or said the right affirmations, or waited long enough, or were patient enough, or healed enough, but because both souls reached the level of readiness required. Because both people did their individual work. Because the timing aligned in the way it needed to. Because the universe, source, the divine, whatever you want to call it, orchestrated it in its perfect wisdom. And if this connection is meant to remain a spiritual catalyst, if the reunion happens only in the energetic realm, if the purpose was always to wake you up and transform you rather than to become a physical partnership, that is not a failure. That is not a loss. That is not evidence that you did something wrong or weren't enough. That is the journey completing itself in the way that serves your highest growth, your soul's evolution, your ultimate expansion. And you will be okay. More than okay. You will be transformed. You will be expanded. You will be more yourself than you've ever been. So let this be your permission. Permission to stop waiting and start living. Permission to stop putting your life on hold for a reunion that may or may not happen in the time frame you want. Permission to stop chasing and start becoming. Permission to stop making him the center of your journey, the focus of your energy, the measure of your worth, and make yourself the center instead. Permission to trust that whatever is meant for you will not miss you, that you don't have to force or control or manipulate anything into happening. Permission to believe that you are worthy of a love that doesn't require you to shrink or chase or beg or prove yourself. Permission to know that you are already whole, already enough, already complete, not because of what you've accomplished or who loves you, but because of who you are at your core. And reunion, if it comes, will be the celebration of that wholeness, not the source of it. It will be the overflow of your completeness, not the solution to your emptiness. Ask yourself one final time, beloved, sit with this question. Let it penetrate deeply. Am I living as someone who is waiting for love, or am I living as someone who already is love? Am I organizing my life around the hope that someone will come back and complete me? Or am I living as if I am already complete? Am I in a state of lack, of waiting, of hoping, of someday? Or am I in a state of fullness, of presence, of embodiment of now? Because the moment you choose the latter, the moment you decide to live as love rather than wait for love, everything shifts. The energy shifts. The frequency shifts. Your vibration changes. Your entire reality shifts because you're no longer operating from the same consciousness. And reunion, whether with him or with yourself, stops being something you're desperately chasing and becomes something you're embodying. Because union begins with her. It begins with you. It begins in your own heart, your own energy, your own choice to be whole. It always has. It always will. Tell me in the comments, have you felt this shift? Have you moved from chasing to becoming? What changed in your energy when you finally chose yourself? Your insight might be exactly what another soul needs to hear today. And remember, beloved, you are not walking this path alone. We are all mirrors for each other. We are all reflections of the same journey. And your transformation, your courage, your willingness to do this work, it ripples out and touches everyone around you. That is the true gift of the twin flame journey. Not just your healing, but the healing you inspire in others, simply by becoming who you were always meant to be.